Amit. Welcome to our little chat ahead of the BIAN Banking Summit. It's very good to have you join this conversation.
Likewise, Margaret. Thank you.
So I'd like to start this conversation by finding out a bit more about your thoughts on the evolution of traditional banks and where they're headed in terms of customer expectations and becoming a ubiquitous tool for customers. How do you see that?
Sure, that's a great question, Margaret. To start with, I think the traditional banks are moving ahead of customer experience, just providing customer experience to being part of the lifestyle journeys and lives of customers. If you really look at it, quite a bit of has been happening in the payment space and now in the loan space already. Well, people have started thinking banking is a waste of time. You bank when you are standing in a Starbucks queue, really, right? You don't sit on a desktop and decide to bank. Or put differently, the banking needs to be embedded in the lives of the customer. Just as the payment happens in the substrate in the Uber ride experience or a Deliveroo food delivery experience, right? It needs to happen in the substrate. Likewise, going forward, thanks to open banking, open APIs, the mortgage can and should happen in the substrate of the home buying journey, which traditionally the customer has been consolidating offline. So more and more banks are using digital technologies, APIs, open banking, data analytics, and AI and insights to embed themselves in the customer journeys.
Okay, so industry convergence, I think, is often used, is often mentioned in that context. How is that being, how is that a challenge or an opportunity? How do you see that?
I think it's both, Margaret. So in a way, industry convergence has been happening. It always was happening between the telecom, media, sort of industries, but increasingly the cross-industry platforms of the sort that Amazon has or Google has, I'm sure you've heard of Amazon providing medical prescriptions. Last week, Amazon decided to get into to becoming a car marketplace, and you saw shares of many car dealers crash. So in that sense, industry convergence has been happening at the back of platformification that a lot of these technology giants are capable of providing, and via that they provide excellent customer services and data insights to make the experience very personal. And compound that to the fact that banking as a whole, as a sector, is at a historic low price to book value and shrinking margins all the time right now. And banks can certainly compete in this, but they'll have to reorganize themselves entirely. The opportunity is huge. By one estimate, it's almost $20 trillion of economy that banks can target by cutting across industries, but they will have to reorganize themselves. And again, the example of when I want to buy a home or you want to buy a home, your end goal is not to go to look for a mortgage product. Most of the time goes in trying to figure that. The end goal, so that's only a means, and the end goal is moving home, and that means connecting the disconnected, disparate world of real estate broker, the mortgage lender, the insurance companies, the lawyers, and the renovation companies, and the security company. And all of this today is possible via platformification of banking. And likewise, banks are capable today, are setting themselves up for providing BaaS services to other retailers or fintechs. So in a whole, I'd like to say that the industry convergence, thanks to examples like this or examples like buy now, pay later, is already beginning to happen, and banks will have to reset themselves to be a part of that.
So from a technology perspective, architecture and microservices architecture, I mean, what is the role of technology in bringing all this really to life?
I think you picked precisely the right ones to start with as examples, because today, if an institution, whether it's a bank or any other company, it's not organized in a technology landscape, which is completely microservices based, loosely coupled, and instead is organized via monolithic, architecture, that technology landscape won't allow the organization to be able to service and adapt to the world which changes so quickly. So essentially, it is having the capability to be able to recompose your business services using the microservices architecture very quickly to cater to customers' need or the segments. And of course, there's cloud computing, which means scaling on demand and rapid deployment to cater to any new business segment. It's the API first, which is prioritizing API development to expose your services and products to external ecosystems so that your capabilities increase, and of course the data and analytics. So all of this put together are some of the key technologies which are essential to cater to the world which changes very quickly, and where the let me call it, the inefficiencies of the technology landscape can potentially get exposed very quickly if you're not organized well.
Okay, and that's why people should join us at the BIAN, or should join your roundtable and your sessions at the BIAN Banking Summit, which is taking place next week in London, to find out a lot more, because this is only the beginning of this discussion. Thank you very much for joining our discussion, and we look forward to seeing you in London next week.
My pleasure, Margaret. Thank you. Likewise.